Hello and welcome to Welsh Wales. Today we're going to video some of the locations behind the novel Lorelei, starting in Betws Y Coed, where I am at the moment, which is on a beautiful part of Snowdonia. Just to the right behind me you can see a very tall, if I pan up slightly, very tall mountain cliff, at the top of which is Llynelsi, which is the location where Trent sits with his girlfriend. You see this in reflections of the past, and they sit there and look at their reflections in the lake. I would go up there, but in the book it's actually set at daybreak in the morning, so you need to kind of walk up there at that time of day, and it's also incredibly steep, so I shan't be doing that today. Hi, and we've got some typically Welsh weather, so sunshine along with rain at the same time. So if we just pan around, and we can see up behind us is the shortcut which is going to take us through to the Fairy Glen and also to one of the murder scenes. And this is the bench where Trent had his lunch because there were people at the Fairy Glen. The reason he stopped as well, as I'm going to for a quick breather, is because to get here it's actually it's rather steep and it's rather a long path. But here's the bench, and here is where I'm going to sit down and have a drink. And as you can tell, the steepness continues with rather slippy steps all the way down. It's actually quite a long way down to the Fairy Glen itself, but that's where we're headed, so in the next shot that's where we'll be. As you can see on my right, I'm a little like Trent in that I'm plagued with day trippers and holiday makers, but if I pan so they're out of shot, you can now see behind me the Fairy Glen as it feeds down from the larger falls. And if you can hear me over the rushing of the water, this is the location where Trent first encounters the Lorelei, Anwyn, and this rock in the centre of the river here is where he sees the back of her washing her hair, naked except for her translucent trousers or something to that effect. And these are the rocks in the middle of the stream which he finds himself sat on next to her a short while later. Very unusual rock formation that you find here, with seaweed or moss on one side of it, but this is why I thought it would be a perfect otherworldly location to use for my shoot and for my novel. And if we move around from that higher shot, you can see there's some quite large rocks and boulders in the middle of the stream which help to form the rapids, which then pass down further downriver. And it's a very peaceful place on a day like today, but quite a scary place. There's a thunderstorm as it echoes around the canyons and the rain coming down and the steps that might kill you because they're so slippery. But it is a rather lovely area and I'd recommend a visit. Although, as a postscript, you should beware of mermaids and Lorelei's on the rocks who will tempt you to your fate and ultimately murder and death. And a final high shot, which means it is time to show you other places, but before we do that, to tackle the steps. And once you emerge from these swines up here, slipping and grabbing rocks on your way, you turn around and you find more bloody steps. Oh well, here we go. And we're currently a little further down the quiet back road, but if you look behind me you'll see the no entry sign, and if we tilt down slightly away down, which I'm going to lead you down towards the river, which is where Trent sees Suzanne and Jay coming back after their encounter with their own ghostly figure. So here's the path that Jay and Suzanne would have walked down to the little grassy area with the beautiful view of the river, the sound of the stream gurgling past in the grass, in which they no doubt had their own fun or saw their own Fairy Glen spirit. Just pan around so you can have a look. It's a beautiful area, only available for anglers, so technically closed to the public. And now we're walking back along the little shortcut quiet road and pausing at the stage here in the road where you can see the thick greenery and the trees behind me, and this is where Trent pauses himself and remembers the police cordons where there was a murder scene and a body found. which may or may not prove relevant to his own life, but this is the area where that happens. And we pause at a very nice reading spot. I may stay here for a while and have a drink and have a read and then resume my travels.